Equine Massage, Lesson 7, Video 3, Trav. I chose Trav for this video. She is a 10-year-old quarter-horse mare because she does have an obvious problem that is affecting her comfort and movement. She has a suspensory injury that occurred back in January of this year, 2018. And although it has been several months, she is still favoring her left hind. Trav was injured when she was turned out to pasture. It was the first night that the ground froze and a new horse had been turned out in the pasture and they were running around, and that's how she hurt herself. She was on stall rest for several months. She was given bute and her leg was wrapped, and now she's just been turned out to pasture for the last couple weeks to move around and sort of rehab a little bit. As far as her conformation goes, Trav is pretty well proportionate. The only conformational flaw that she has is she does toe in slightly, which hopefully you'll be able to tell in the video. When she faces the front here, she does toe in. Other than being a little pigeon-toed, she doesn't have any other major flaws in her conformation, and she's overall pretty balanced. In these clips, I just wanted to show the injury up close so you can have a better idea of what it looks like. It is still fairly enlarged. It is not soft tissue anymore, it is hard tissue. But you can see the size difference between the left hind and the right hind here. At the walk, it is almost unnoticeable that Trav has the suspensory injury. She seems to move fairly decently at the walk, but as she begins to trot, the lameness becomes more apparent. It does seem as though she has some tightness in her haunches as she's striding here, and you also notice that she is a bit short-strided with that left hind. I mentioned earlier that Trav toes in. This hasn't really affected her movement too much. She's never been lame or anything, although she is still young. She's kept on a short trim schedule, so that way it sort of helps balance her hooves out, since they tend to grow a little funny since she walks on the outside edges of her hooves instead of landing squarely. So trimming is a big deal for her, and that sort of helps things out a little bit, but it doesn't seem to create any problems. Trav's major issue is the injury that she sustained back in the winter. I also observed that after Trav has had a few minutes to warm up, she has a lot better movement even with the injury. To begin our massage with Trav, we're going to begin at the head and the pole, and we'll get some endorphins working from us from the beginning of the massage this time. It's important to remember that if you are working with a horse that's a little bit more reactive than what Trav is, you would not want to stand directly in front of the horse. It would be much safer to stand off to the side. So that is one thing that could be improved upon in this video. I had been doing some reading on the zygomatic nerve, and here I was trying to focus on that a little bit, but I'm not quite sure if I am in the correct spot. But that is another good technique to take advantage of. Then we'll move to the pole, and in this area we have the upper neck attachments, which is the serratus and brachiocephalicus, and I'm using some cross fiber friction in this spot. Trav already seems super relaxed going into this massage, so that's a really great sign. Next, I'm going to try and do a positional release using my knuckles. So I'm just pressing in with my knuckles and then using my other hand to bend her head around. This is a very cool technique that I am still trying to master. With our last massage, I'm going to go around to the other side and do the same techniques on the right side that I did on the left to ensure that Trav remains balanced throughout this massage. And I'm using some cross fiber friction here at the pole again. And also I'm using a little bit of fingertip pressure here. This is a good modality if you find any sore spots. Then to sort of finish the head, I'm going to use some effleurage on the masseters. Also, again, bad position, standing in front of the horse. If you have a real reactive horse, it'd be a safer alternative to stand just on one side. The next section we will work on is the long back muscles, and in this section we have the spinalis, longissimus dorsi, iliocostalis, and the latissimus dorsi. I'm beginning with some effleurage. With Trav having an injury, her back could very well be tight or sore from compensating. That is going to be a major theme throughout this massage, is releasing the tension and trying to alleviate any sore spots that we find because of the compensation that Trav has been doing since the injury occurred. Now I'm doing cross fiber friction in the circular motion, and Trav really is getting into the massage at this point. I'm also using compress and glide here on the long back muscles, pressing into the muscle tissue and then sliding my hand forward. Moving on to the next side, I will focus on the long back muscles here on the right, and I'll start with some effleurage. When I switched to cross fiber friction in a circular motion, I noticed that Trav had a really good release. She began licking and chewing, which was a good sign that she was starting to release some tension. Now I'm doing compress and glide on the right, and Trav is really starting to get into the massage, and I feel good about the responses that I'm getting from her. So I am trying to gauge her reactions, that way I can adjust my pressure and modalities to her reactions. So we like to break up the long back muscles into two sections. And now I'm on the second section, which is the loins. just beginning with some effleurage. And now focusing on some friction. Trav is likely to have some tightness in this area, having to compensate with her lameness. So I'm going to make sure that I'm checking in with her to see if she's showing any indication of tightness or sore spots, so that way I can focus on those. On the loins here, I'm using cross fiber friction and a circular motion, just like we did before. Now we're back over here on the left, focusing on the loins with some effleurage. After I finish up with the effleurage, I will do cross fiber. I'll have to apologize for the camera malfunction here, as the cameraman gets confused on which way to zoom in or out. Now I have switched to cross fiber friction and a circular motion, and it seems that Trav enjoys this modality the most. She cocks the hind leg here and really seems to take it all in and relax, which I think is a good sign. Now I'm working on the haunches, and this is the area that I was most concerned about with Trav. Since she has been injured, I was worried that she would have a lot of soreness in this area. And I'm working over her haunches using cross fiber friction, trying to determine if there's any soreness here in this area or not. In this area, we are massaging the middle gluteus and the superficial gluteus. Now I'm using fingertip compression to focus on any sore areas here in the haunches, and always gauging the horse's reaction to make sure that I'm using the correct amount of pressure. Although Trav injured her left hind, it would not be uncommon to see soreness over here on the right side, being as it was this leg that bore more weight than the other when that leg was injured. So I'm going to check and make sure that I don't find any tightness or soreness here, and if I do, to address it appropriately. I am beginning over here on the right side, just like I did with the left, starting with a little effleurage. Next, I'm spreading the muscle fibers apart using cross fiber friction. Now I'm just using some static pressure with the palm of my hand to relieve any soreness in this area. Another great modality to relieve soreness is fingertip compression, and I'm using fingertip compression along her haunches here. Right here, I think Trav was just trying to get a fly, but I'm always trying to gauge her reaction to make sure that I'm not using too much pressure or that my pressure is not heavy enough. And now I'm moving to the glute bone area and I'm using some cross fiber friction. Another great modality in this section is to use some static pressure, which I will demonstrate here in a moment using my thumb, just all around this bony area. Now I am working on the upper hamstring attachments, which is the biceps femoris, the semitendinosus, and the semimembranosus. These muscles move the hind legs and pull them backwards. So I'm just beginning with some effleurage. And next I will use the curry to do some cross fiber friction in this spot. Here in just a second, you'll notice that Trav sort of steps into the pressure, which was a good sign to me that she was liking it and that I could use a little bit firmer pressure and she'd be okay with that since she was leaning into it. I took that as a good sign. And then she also did display some licking and chewing. So I think that that was a good sign of release there, of some tension. And over here on the left side, I'll repeat the process using some effleurage to begin with, and then a little cross fiber friction, focusing on the upper hamstring attachments. I'm practicing a little fingertip compression here to alleviate the soreness in the upper hamstring attachments. Since I felt that the right side was a lot tighter over here in the upper hamstring attachments, I decided to come back and practice a little muscle combing to help with that tightness and hopefully loosen those muscles up a bit. I do believe the cause of the problem over here is due to the fact that there was a lot more strain placed on the side of her body when she was injured on the opposite side. So just because there's an injury on one side of the body doesn't mean that's the only area that's affected. And Trav is a really great example of this. Now we're moving down to the lower hamstring attachments. So again, we're affecting the same muscles as the upper hamstring attachments, the biceps femoris, the semitendinosus, and the semimembranosus. And I'm starting with some kneading, but to begin with, Trav has all of her weight on her right leg, which is making it a little difficult to knead. But as soon as she does take her weight off that leg and weights that leg, I'm able to knead a lot easier. And next I'm going to use cross fiber friction along these lower hamstring attachments. Over on the left side, focusing on the lower hamstring attachments, I may have been using a little too much pressure when I was kneading, but it seems when I switch to cross fiber friction that she really relaxes and begins to respond to the massage. I'm going to focus on the adductors, which is the gracilis muscles, which moves the legs sideways. These muscles are normally tight, not usually sore, so I'm using some kneading in here in between her legs. Trav is nice and relaxed for this area, but I'm still making sure to stand off to the side in case she were to have a little bit of a reaction, but overall she seems to be responding really well. The quadriceps is the next section that we'll be focusing on. The quadriceps is made up of the three vastus muscles and the rectus femoris. So Trav really seemed to enjoy this. I was working up from sort of in front of the stifle up towards the hip joint, and she was yawning and really showing some great releases of tension here. Out of the 3 horses that I used for lesson 7, I feel like Trav was definitely the most responsive, which part of it could have been because I was more confident in my massage, but I feel like she really responded well to the massage. Now I'm just using some static pressure with my fingertips. Here I'm using effleurage again in the quadricep area, going from in front of the stifle towards the hip joint. Next, I'm going to look at the area between the last rib and the point of the hip. In this area, we have tensor fasciae lata, the iliacus, external oblique and internal oblique, as well as the transverse abdominis. And all these muscles affect the forward and backward swing of the hind legs, lateral movement, and canter departs. Using some direct thumb pressure, pressing into the muscle tissue to relieve any soreness in between the last rib and the point of the hip. Now I'm using some cross fiber friction in this spot, and Trav seems to be relaxed. Working over on the right side in the area between the last rib and the point of the hip, I noticed that Trav was also having some more releases, and it further solidified my conclusion that she had such tension and soreness over here on the right side of her body versus the left, because she was favoring the left side, and the right side was definitely taking on more stress and strain because of the compensation she was having to do. Now I'm starting on the area behind the shoulder, and the muscles here are the thoracic serratus and the latissimus dorsi. I'm beginning with some effleurage, going with the muscle fibers. Now I'm doing some cross fiber friction here, and this is a common area for the horse to have soreness from the girth. And I'm not noticing any of that with Trav. She has been off for a very long time, but that's not to say that she doesn't have residual soreness or pain from being ridden in the past, but I'm not noticing anything crazy here. To finish up on the right side, I'm going to do some friction in a circular motion. This seemed to be Trav's favorite modality in the beginning, so it's kind of her favorite. Trav really seemed to enjoy me working on both sides in this area behind the shoulder. For whatever reason, it seemed to really relax her, and she just seemed like she was enjoying herself. One of the other areas that we focus on is the ribs, and when I began doing cross fiber friction and circular motion, Trav really let loose with some big yawns, releasing a lot of tension in this spot, which was a great sign. Next up, I'm working on the withers. In this area, we've got the trapezius and rhomboid, and I'm using some cross fiber friction right here. Trav was definitely experiencing a lot of releases in this area. I felt super good about this massage. Felt like it went the best out of all of them. And I was just really grateful to have a horse that was so responsive and sort of communicated exactly how they were feeling and if something was working versus something wasn't. Having stoic horses makes you second guess yourself, but a horse like Trav that really expresses what they're feeling was definitely a huge confidence booster for me in this massage course. Here on the left side, after some cross fiber friction, I am now demonstrating the compression with the fingertips on the withers. In this technique, I'm standing on the opposite side, reaching across the horse's body to the other side of the withers and pulling towards that bone to spread the muscle fibers. Now I'll begin working on the belly line, beginning with the chest muscles. Here we have the pectorals, and I'm doing some kneading in this area. The muscles feel soft and loose here. I'm not noticing anything out of the norm. And Trav was blinking quite a bit in this area, and it seemed like she was enjoying it. Here I'm demonstrating some fingertip compression, a good modality to use in this area in the pecs. So the pectoral muscles start near the elbow and run along the belly line to the end of the rib cage. And here I'm focusing where this muscle attaches to the sternum bone using some deep effleurage. Since Trav showed a little bit of release of tension there and the muscles felt a little bit tight, I decided to try some muscle combing with my fingertips here in this spot. Next, I will begin working on the pecs on the left side and sort of practice the same modalities over here. Next, I'll focus on the groin and abdominal muscles. And in this area, we have the internal and external oblique and the rectus abdominis. I'm beginning with some effleurage using the heel of my hand. Now I'll begin working on the right side, on the belly line, using deep effleurage with the heel of my hand. In this clip, I am doing belly lifts with Trav. Now I'm going to focus on the shoulder area, and we have the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, deltoids, and triceps in this area. And I'm beginning with some effleurage, just going down along the scapula, spreading the muscle tissue across that bone. And in this spot, I am demonstrating some kneading. One of the areas that I wanted to focus on was the upper portion of the legs, and here I'm using some effleurage on her forearm. Moving on to the rhomboids, I'm going to begin with effleurage, going down the length of the rhomboid muscle here at the crest line of the neck. Now I'm using a curry in cross-fiber friction along the rhomboid muscle. Here I'm using just a bit of thumb pressure and sort of trigger point massage to release a knot in her rhomboid. Trav's rhomboids do appear to be a bit ropey. They're a little rigid and tight, not quite what you'd want to see in a good rhomboid muscle. Hopefully, after some good consistent massages, this will improve. The other neck muscles that we want to focus on are the brachiocephalicus, the cervical serratus, and the splenius. So to begin, I am using effleurage, beginning at the pole and working towards the base of the shoulder. And now I'm using cross fiber friction with my fingertips all along these muscles. Here I'm honing in on the brachiocephalicus, using the curry this time in cross fiber friction. Now over on the right side, I'll just begin the process all over here. In this final clip, I am trying to do a positional release with Trav. This was a super educational experience for me, and I was so grateful to have the opportunity to work on the number of horses that I did, and I thoroughly enjoyed the massages I was able to do. Thank you.